Alright, so I had to pull over because my remote for my camera is dead and it's in my office charging. So I needed to make sure my camera was actually recording. So I got another idea for a vlog discussion point. This one hopefully won't ramble on as long as my other one. But if you haven't watched it, watch the other rambling one if you have some time to kill about my arguments for, and really the same arguments anybody would have for lane splitting. And I was curious on what other people maybe were saying that I haven't thought about in terms of lane splitting, and watching some videos. And something that some other people made a better point at than I did, even though I feel like I probably talked about it a little bit, was that much of your safety on a motorcycle is based on your maneuverability and control. I have better control over this for the most part in most circumstances, as long as I have traction, than a four-wheeled vehicle typically has. And that's not just based on the size and all that. I typically have more acceleration potential, deceleration potential. Because of the weight, I have a better field of view. I can have a higher vantage point, even higher than this if I want to. Once again, I can stand up, maintain reasonable control over the vehicle, so on and so forth. But control is ultimately where you stay safe on a motorcycle. Once again, riding a motorcycle is inherently dangerous, but it's a calculated risk. And part of those calculations, part of the thing that makes the risk worth it, is understanding that I have a great deal of control over my surroundings on a motorcycle, because I can manipulate my position in the road. Cars basically fit either in one lane or the next. If it's a two-lane road, there's two places on the road you typically fit. There's multiple places on the road that I fit. If I wanted to go around this truck, I can do so. I can go around this car. I can go around this car. I can't do this on a car. So I can escape and evade potential issues on the road on a motorcycle where I can't do that in a car. If I was in a car, I would still be stuck back there. So if there was somebody barreling down the road, a drunk person, something was coming from behind, you're just stuck in your position in a car, where on a motorcycle you have more control over where you are in the road and where you can go and can't go. Because that is a source of safety, the main source of safety is a higher level of control in where you are. I think it's worth pointing out that the one place you don't have a lot of control over, you don't have a lot of visibility over, is something directly behind you. I was able to manipulate my position to avoid a theoretical or potential issue behind me by moving forward quickly, to manipulate my position moving forward by going between traffic and doing that. Something directly behind you on a motorcycle poses a great deal of danger to you. Being rear-ended on a motorcycle is almost a guaranteed stint in a hospital room, if not a graveyard. So here's my argument. You know, lane splitting allows you, and this isn't a lane splitting video, I'm just bringing up a parallel point. Lane splitting allows you to evade the potential danger behind you by moving yourself forward in traffic, both at a red light or in very slow traffic. And I obviously believe that that should be legal to do, because it adds safety. Even though it looks scary to the uneducated, it is more safe for the cyclist to move forward in the traffic than be stuck amidst it, where people can make a mistake and crush you. I think that same principle should be carried over to all areas on the road in regards to the speed that you're allowed to go. I believe, and this may be controversial, but I'd love to know what you think about it. I believe that motorcyclists should be allowed to go 10 miles an hour over the speed limit without being pulled over. I think that whatever the posted speed limit is, someone on a motorcycle should be allowed to legally exceed that by 10 miles an hour without being in risk of getting a ticket. And let me tell you why. It's not just because, oh, of course you'd say that. You're on a motorcycle. You'd want to go fast, and that's great for you. It's not just that. It's that if I can make sure, and the truth is, I do this anyway. I do this, in fact, I even do this in a car. I don't think you can make as much of an argument for doing it in a car as you can doing it in a motorcycle. But I always go about 10 miles an hour faster than the flow of traffic, unless I'm on the highway, because I'd ride a DRZ 400 SM, and it doesn't always go 10 miles an hour over the flow of traffic easily on the highway, but it will anywhere else. And look, I have more control over my position and congestion in traffic if I only have opposing traffic coming towards me from the front, where I can see. I don't have a middle rear view mirror in front of me. I'm not in a car. I can't see things directly behind me, so those things pose a great potential risk to me. If I go, like right now, I'm cruising along at 55 miles an hour. Contrary to what the law might say, there's absolutely nothing reckless about what I'm doing right now. In fact, it is far safer for me and ultimately everybody else on the road for me to go a little faster than the speed limit, a little faster than the flow of traffic, because I can exercise more control over where I am. And the reality is, because I'm not in a steel cage with crumple zones and airbags and seat belts, I am at far greater risk in the environment of traffic than anyone else would be. And somebody might say, well, you chose that. You made that decision by riding a motorcycle. Well, of course I did. Well, I understand that. But it doesn't mean that I should be forced to be increased risk when some of that risk can be alleviated. And one way to alleviate some of that risk is to allow me, one, to lane split. Here I am stuck in traffic with cars in front of me and behind me. I should be able to legally zip between all these cars to escape that threat, to have a buffer, to use all these cars as my personal crumple zone, so that if somebody comes barreling up my back, I don't get crushed. I have multiple vehicles to absorb that impact that are going to absorb it anyway and keep it from hitting me. I should also be able to do that in very slow traffic on the road. I should be able to, when I'm stuck in stop and go traffic, to just zip between cars, get myself out of the way into safety without worrying about getting a ticket for it. I also think, while both of those things are legal in some places like California, both of those things are legal to do because they recognize that it's the safest thing. Statistics back it up. And for all the other reasons it's good to do. It relieves congestion for everyone, speeds up everybody's drive time. It's less vehicles on the road for a longer amount of time, which is good for the environment, blah, 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 blah. There's lots of reasons why that's good, and it's recognized some places, but I think it should be extended to the general speed limit. And really, I mean, you can't base the law on flow of traffic. You gotta have a speed limit, even if it's not strictly enforced everywhere. There's plenty of places I ride and drive where the speed limit's 60, but everybody's going 70, 72, and you're not gonna get pulled over for doing that, okay? I think motorcyclists, by law, should be allowed to go 10 miles an hour over the speed limit legally, and really that should extend to what's socially allowed and practically enforced, and that's 10 miles an hour over the flow of traffic. Because if I'm going a little bit faster than the average vehicle around me, I don't have to worry quite as much about somebody coming up from behind in a direction I really can't see, and that's directly behind me. Only having to worry about vehicles approaching me from the front means I really only have to worry about vehicles I can see coming. Not a guaranteed avenue to safety, but it's far better than me going. There's just anybody that understands anything about the dynamics of driving would have to agree, if they're being objective and they don't have an agenda, that sitting in the flow of traffic in a motorcycle going the exact same speed as everybody else, let's say we're all following the posted speed limit, is far more dangerous than going 10 miles an hour faster and not having people barreling up behind me and beside me all the time. I mean, you're watching me drive now. I'm going 10 miles an hour over the speed limit and over the flow of traffic, but nothing I'm doing is reckless. I'm not on the razor's edge. I'm not putting myself or anyone else at any undue or increased risk. It's 40 miles an hour. I'm actually going 60 right now. I'm going 20 miles an hour over the speed limit, not putting myself or anyone else at any risk, and I guarantee you I am way less likely to have a wreck going through this section of street right now at 60 miles an hour than I would be at 40 miles an hour. Because guess what? Nobody's coming up from behind me. Nobody's gonna come up and surprise me at not paying attention and rear end me or show up in a blind spot beside me. I have to look over my shoulder all the way to see what's behind me. That takes a lot of time. There's a lot of places on the road that's not sane to do so. Look, like right now, I'm coming up on a stoplight. I wouldn't want to turn my head all the way over my shoulder to see if somebody's about to crush me, because then I don't know if the person beside me, like in this Camry, doesn't want to change lanes all of a sudden, and then I rear end them, okay? And that's bad for me too. So in congestion, you don't always have the opportunity to look totally over your shoulder to see what's coming. So what I want to be able to do is go faster than everybody else around me, still a sane, reasonable, logical speed, like 10 miles an hour faster than the flow of traffic, so that I'm not worried about people coming up behind me. So I'd love to know what you think about that. I'm going to break the law right now, and just to prove that this is more safe, okay? Well, I'm actually not going to do it now because the light's green and we're all going to move anyway. What I was going to do is go up and lane split to the front of this line, and that is likely to save my life and unlikely or impossible to cause any issue to anyone else, other than emotional if they are jealous because I'm going in front of them, or they're uneducated about why I'm doing that and they think I'm just being a motorcycle punk, and that maybe distracts them. But that's their issues, okay? Their issues. I have to worry way more about everybody else's mistake on this motorcycle than I would in a car. And while I understand that's my own assumed risk, I assume that by choosing to ride a motorcycle, I think that the law should allow for as much safety as possible to the motorcyclist as long as those changes don't put anyone else at risk. Lane splitting doesn't put anyone else at risk. Going to the front of the pack at a red light doesn't put anyone else at risk. And I think allowing a motorcyclist, look at that, see that car? On the phone, not paying attention. You know, I had to use my acceleration and maneuverability. I had to use my control to avoid that. I don't even know if she even noticed she was pulling out in front of me. She just kept on going into that lane as I pulled by her. So that's the kind of control that keeps you safe on a bike. And we can increase that ability to control by allowing motorcyclists to go a little bit faster than the speed limit, so that everyone's just barely drifting this way and very few people are coming from behind. Because there's nothing reckless about that. It is safe, it's effective, it's logical. What do you think about it? Leave me a post, leave me a comment, do a video response. I will approve all video responses that aren't profanity laced. Or whatever. So do whatever you want to do. Let me know what you think about it. All arguments welcome. Bye.